Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're continuing our look at the miniseries version of Stephen King's It. The series was aired in 2 parts on ABC in 1990, and similarly, I had to make my Kill Count coverage a 2-parter because there's just too much damn story to tell. If you need to watch part 1, where 5 people have died so far, click the bubble in the upper right corner of this video to check it out. Otherwise, let's jump straight back into the kills. Part 2 begins with Bill and his whack-ass ponytail arriving back home in Derry, Maine. He visits his little brother's tombstone, but gets his mourning session interrupted by Pennywise digging some graves. There are 7 of them, but one of them's filled. It's with Stan. Bill tells Pennywise he's not afraid of him, not very convincingly I might add, then heads to the library where he and Mike reunite with a solid-looking manhug. Bill admits that he doesn't really remember anything, and if you hadn't noticed, none of them really do except for Mike, probably because he never left Derry. Mike says he has something that'll help jog Bill's memory, and it's his old bike Silver. They fix it up and then have a grown-ass men riding a bicycle montage, complete with such hits as the teeter-totter up and down and the bullfighter special. It's a sweet montage, I guess, but I'm more than happy when it ends on a creepy note after they spill cards on the ground and see Pennywise on the back of them. Next to arrive back in Derry is Richie, who's outraged by the closing of the Paramount Theater and even more outraged at the latest film they're playing. Oh, never heard of that one. What's it got on Rotten Tomatoes? He gets to the library, but since Bill and Mike are out doing their Butch and Sundance montage, he has to sit there and wait for him. Pennywise waits with him, offering him a balloon for his troubles. But Pennywise, what if one balloon's not enough?
Try
Haha, that's better. I could do without the blood stuff though. Richie gets blood all over his face, looking like the world's messiest vampire, while Pennywise sits on the balcony and cracks jokes.
Do you have Prince Albert in a can? You do? Well, you better let the poor guy out.
Guys, if you ever find yourself having as much fun in your life as Pennywise is here, consider yourself #blessed. Richie's not impressed by Pennywise Pablum stand-up though, so he pieces out. Taking a taxi into town is Ben, who has his driver pull over so he can hike on down to the Barrens and say hello to his old friend Moldy Skeleton Guy. Yo, what up MSG? You haven't aged a bit. Back in the taxi, he has another couple of visions, first one of Pennywise standing on the side of the road and then an ominous balloon in his cab. Eddie pulls into town next and heads to a pharmacy where he remembers a time from his childhood when the pharmacist revealed to him that his inhaler wasn't actually any medicine. It was just a placebo designed to make him feel better. Adult Eddie overhears the same pharmacist in the back, now an old man, and after a brief heart-to-heart, the old guy grabs his arm and gets creepy.
Get out of Derry while you still can.
Old Eddie gets out of there. The last loser to arrive in Derry, since, you know, Stan's dead, is Beverly, who's paying a visit to her old house. She finds out her dad died 5 years ago, but the old lady living there now welcomes her inside for some tea and memories. Things start getting weird fast. The old lady chugs her tea noisily, her teeth all of a sudden look like she's been a lifetime tobacco chewer, and oh yeah, Bev's tea is actually a cup of blood. Bev's on a strict no-blood diet though, and while the old woman is cleaning up the broken teacup, she turns into the freakiest looking corpse thing in this entire movie, then starts talking like Bev's dad.
I worry about you, Bevy. I worry a lot.
Bev flees, and when she's safely outside the house, she looks back to see Pennywise doing his thing. Then she looks again and sees that the house is actually boarded up and abandoned. A lone balloon closes out Bev's little segment here. Then we unexpectedly jump back to England, where Bill's wife is chatting with a guy involved in that movie he was working on. The suit tells Audra not to mess up her career by ditching the production, but she's so concerned about Bill that she ignores his advice and gets a ticket on the next main-bound plane. It's finally time to get everyone back together, and what better place than a Chinese restaurant? Eddie and Ben are the first to arrive, and while they're hugging it out, Bill and Mike walk in, no doubt exhausted from their day of riding bike together. Richie loses his nerve when he sees them at first, but after a pep talk to himself in the bathroom mirror, he returns to them with his shtick dialed up to 11.
All right, who got bald and who got wrinkled and how many got chillin' got wings? Beep, beep, Richie.
Finally, Bev walks in and the guys are all stunned because Annette O'Toole is a very pretty lady. She greets them all with hugs and kisses, an especially sultry kiss for Bill. Damn, Bill, you got a wife, dude. Then they toast to the Losers Club and have, what the hell, another montage? Yeah, this one's even longer than the bike thing, and it's just them feasting out and dicking around. Man, I hate adult Richie. They start catching up each other and the audience as the camera swings around them over and over and over and over and over again. Anyone else feel nauseous? They mention how Henry Bowers took the blame for all the missing and murdered kids back in 1960, but nobody would believe all his clown talk. Now Henry's hanging out in a psych ward down the way, a sad old man just trying to get some sleep, but he can't because the goddamn moon keeps talking to him and won't shut the hell up. Moon Pennywise tells Henry he's got work to do, that he needs to go back to Derry and finish killing all the losers there. Henry's all like, yeah, Mr. Moon Clown, sounds good to me. That's my Henry voice, I guess. The losers are finishing up their dinner with a round of fortune cookies, and their fortunes end up being way worse than vague platitudes on thin strips of paper. Instead, it's stuff like blood and cockroaches and freaking eyeballs and this little crab thing that looks like a Happy Meal toy. Oh, and a dead baby bird, but that might just be an order of Baloo. The crew takes refuge in Mike's library, where Richie just goes on and on and on. Holy shit, if I die and go to hell, it'll be in the audience of a never-ending 80s stand-up comic show.
It's great to be back in Derry, breathing in that old Derry air,
Beep, beep, Richie.
Yeah, Richie, beep fucking beep. The only thing that gets him to finally shut up is the news that Stan's dead, baby. Stan's dead. Obviously, this brings the room down, and Bill reminisces about a time he saved Stan from something scary he saw. Apparently, one time Stan got called into a big old house by a mysterious voice, and once he was inside, the door locked behind him, and down the stairs came a mummy. Damn, man, just breaking out all the classic monsters for this movie, huh? And apparently Frankenstein and the creature from the Black Lagoon are in the book, too. Eddie talks about how Stan was the only one to see its true form in the sewer, and mentions something Stan told him.
He said, I looked into its deadlights, and I wanted to be there.
When they go for a drink in Mike's work fridge, they instead get a bunch of balloons that all float, and Stan's decapitated head, which roasts each one of the crew in turn, then converts into Pennywise's voice for his big show-stopping finale.
We all float down here. They all float.
God, I love it when he does that one. They all float down here, it's a classic. The library starts going all paranormal activity on the gang until they do a friendship huddle and shut that shit down. They wisely get the idea to ditch the creepy library and head someplace else for the night. Back at the psych ward, Henry gets a visit from an undead Belch who he has a telepathic conversation with. Belch tells him he's gonna bust him out so he can contract Henry out to kill the losers one by one, then gives him his old switchblade as a signing bonus. As Henry approaches the exit, the security guard Kuhn steps out to rough him up, but it steps in to intervene, appearing as a clown with a freaking Doberman head and knocks Kuhn's down, killing him in the standard slow motion point of view shot that this miniseries leans way too heavily on, but probably had to because, you know, it was a network miniseries. Now at a quaint hotel, Mike catches everyone up, reminding them of all the kids that were disappearing in 1960. He tells them that every 30 years, some evil shit goes down in Derry.
In 1930, the explosion down at the old ironworks. In 1900, the massacre at Drake's Creek.
They remember grown-ups who refused to acknowledge the evil in their town, like a teacher and the old guy across the street from Bev who ignored her when she was getting harassed by Henry Bowers. Mike reflects how they have to stay together to be strong and about how they're all special for some reason.
6 of you left Derry and became unusually successful.
While Mike's circle jerking everyone's egos, Audra pulls into town at an old gas station and the attendant turns into Pennywise.
Don't you want your balloon first, Miss Denborough?
Then Pennywise gets real sexy creepy with her.
Don't you want it? Don't you want it? Don't you want it?
I mean, I kinda do, but mostly because you're Tim Curry. Audra's not quite dead yet though, so she avoids being added to the kill count for now. The gang shoots the shit some more, Ben telling everyone how he lost all his weight, and Bev telling them that as a child she felt like she was going insane over the bloody sink business until the day they all came over and confirmed that it was real, then helped her clean it up.
I fell in love with all you guys that day.
I'm not sure, but I wonder if that line is a reference to an infamous scene that happens in the book, but doesn't happen in this movie and won't happen in the new one. If you're curious, just look up Stephen King's It Gangbang. Or, you know, maybe don't. Despite Mike's earlier warning to not split up, some of the guys do briefly separate when they go upstairs to grab clothes and stuff. And during this separation, they get hit by evil shit because that's what happens in Stephen King stories. For instance, Bev comes into Ben's room and recites his old poem about her, revealing that she eventually figured out it was him who wrote it, not Bill. They start making out, but when he sneaks a peek in the mirror to get a look at dad ass, it's these unflattering clown pants he sees in the reflection. Yep, dude, you were just swapping spit with Pennywise.
Kiss me, fat boy.
Cross that fetish off the bucket list. As bad as that is, things are much worse for Mike when Henry Bowers ambushes him from the bathroom and stabs him in the side with a switchblade. Ben and Eddie break into Mike's room and rescue him, and in the process, Henry stabs himself in the chest, killing him to rid the group of evil Danny Zuko once and for all, and giving us the 7th kill of the miniseries a whopping 2 hours and 33 minutes in. The gang rushes Mike to the hospital and stays overnight, Bev complaining that it is a real big meanie. When Ben comforts her, she recites his poetry to him, freaking him out because of the whole clown pants dalliance he had the night before.
Damn it, Bev, is that you in there? Is that the clown?
She assures him she ain't got no clown inside, and they make sweet, sweet lip love. Back inside, they're given an update on Mike by a doctor played by a dude who couldn't give less of a shit about this role.
He's not out of the woods yet. I guess one of you could go in for just a minute.
Mike gives Bill the silver earrings and tells him that he went back into the sewer by himself 10 years ago when he was feeling down in the dumps and willing to let it kill him for all he cared. Instead, he found those earrings and knew they'd come back in handy one day. The gang covers up Henry's body at the hotel and prepare to get the hell out of Dodge. But on his way out the door, Richie overhears the television talking about the latest victim found in Derry, a 5-year-old little girl. Do I add her to the count or not? I'm gonna go with no because it's a news report. Sorry, no inflated statistics for you. The gang is all ready to hightail it back to their respective homes, but Bill gives a moving speech that harkens back to when they were kids.
This time I'm gonna kill it.
Help me. Help me.
Another friendship huddle affirms the others will stay as well. Get in, losers, we're going it hunting. The party gears up once more with Bev's slingshot and Bill's magic silver earrings, but Richie's a bit of a sourpuss and complains about the whole thing. Not enough to run off though. Nope, the 5 of them head back through the Barrens one last time and into the sewer station. They find a purse that Bill recognizes as belonging to Audra, which sends him running down the sewer tunnels by himself like a stupid dumb idiot. But turns out that was just for a dramatic commercial segment, and as soon as the movie returns, the gang gets back together and continues on as a team. Ad breaks, am I right? They finally get to the hub hub of the sewer again, the same place they faced off against Pennywise last time, and sure enough, shit starts going down again. First, they see a paper boat sail on down to where they're standing, and then they're greeted with the greenish sight of zombie Georgie, who's still kind of a cute kid despite all the festering on his face. Bill wills Ghost Georgie away by denying him any power, and then an image of Pennywise appears like it's being projected onto the wall by a substitute teacher who, you know what, just doesn't really feel like teaching that day. Although Richie complains that there's no way they can fight evil incarnate like it, Bill knows what's up.
It wakes up every 30 years and it feeds. And in order to feed, it has to take on some kind of physical form.
So that's pretty much the TLDR of what it is, in case anyone asks. They set the boat afloating and follow it deeper and deeper into the sewer system, all the way to this bone door straight out of a grim fairy tale. Before they go in, Eddie tells them he's a virgin because he's never loved anyone but them, and also because in the movie they didn't get around to the whole gangbang thing. This scene does, however, add to my suspicion that he's a gay-coded character. They finally open the door into the ultimate set piece, a big old cave with spider webs everywhere that hold lots of dead bodies and one Bill's wife. Before he can go get her, it comes out as a giant spider. Yep, it's a big ass spider. Surprise? I mean, he's not technically a spider. It looks like he's only got 6 legs, but he's pretty much a spider. It could definitely look better, but what are you gonna do, guys? They have a miniseries budget, and the book has them going through space-time and shit. Bev shoots Spider It with her silver pieces, but she misses the first one, and the other just bounces off his exoskeleton. It Spider rears up and is all, "Get in my belly!" His dead lights blinding Bill. The lights also blind Ben and Richie when they go to try and help him. Bev runs off to fetch her arrows, and Eddie remembers his battery acid moment from childhood, so he tries it once more.
This is battery acid. Now you disappear.
Except it doesn't work this time, and It Spider picks him up with his spider hand claws and squeezes him. Bev manages to find an earring and aims it straight for the deadlights. She lets it go, and it's a direct hit, giving us this weird keyed-in fireworks show in It Spider's belly. It Spider drops Eddie and runs away, but it looks like the damage is done. The rest of the gang holds Eddie in their arms as he dies, our 8th victim in this movie almost 3 hours in. Bet none of you expected this to have more kills than Scream, did ya? Eddie's death rallies the remaining losers, who aren't gonna let it escape again.
If that thing comes back when I'm 70.
Let's finish it.
Once and for all.
They find it limping away, injured and weak, so they go and push it over and then kick and punch the crap out of it. Through their teamwork and Bill's crazy determination face, they're able to kill it. And yeah, kicking and punching's a little lame, but they also tear its heart out like they're Jim Carrey in that fantasy sequence during Dumb and Dumber, so you know what, I'm not gonna shit on it too much. With it dead for good, its evil spell is lifted, and Bill catches Audra as she descends from the ceiling in her little cocoon. She's catatonic though, not the best news for Billy Boy, so it's a bittersweet moment when they're standing outside the sewer with her and Eddie's body. Womp womp. Narration from Mike lets us know that he wrote everything down so he wouldn't forget anything, and that he thinks it's time for him to finally move on from Derry. He sums up what became of everyone else. Richie got to star in a movie that looks like it would go straight to video and still lose a ton of money. Bev and Ben got married and pregnant in a matter of weeks after the incident, and Bill and Audra are just now leaving Derry, even though Audra is still all messed up. Before he gets in the taxi though, Bill sees his old bike Silver, which sparks one last idea to give us a happy ending. He takes Audra on a very dangerous joyride through the streets of Derry, and the magic of his love and his noble steed are enough to snap her out of her trance. She comes to during what must be the most terrifying bike ride of her life, and the two embrace in the middle of an intersection as the camera pans out and the credits start with one last laugh from Pennywise. Do I look older? I feel older because I just summed up a 3-hour movie for you guys. At least it was a good one with a decent amount of kills too. How many? Let's find out and get to the numbers. There were 9 deaths in Stephen King's It, which is 9 more than some of you expected, because I guess you really don't know this story. Of the victims, 1 was a little girl, 7 were males of various ages, and the last was a giant evil demon spider clown thing. Yeah, that's a weird breakdown when it comes to gender, so, you know, whatever. At a runtime of an insane 3 hours and 7 minutes, that comes out to a kill, on average, about every 20 minutes. Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill doesn't have a lot of options, so I'll give it to Belch. There's no blood or anything, but I think it's cool the way he folds in half, and his facial expression is one of frozen terror, which really sells it. Dull Machete for lamest kill? Take your pick. I guess Vic, since we never even hear a description of what happened to his body. And that's it! The ABC miniseries production of Stephen King's It was released in 2 parts back in 1990, and while it has its flaws, it's a solid effort when it comes to translating this massive book to screen. And hey, don't worry, we get to see another attempt at a movie version in just a week. As for us, we're getting back on the Chucky train next Friday with Child's Play 3. Until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching the second part of my kill count on Stephen King's It. I want to thank some of my patrons like Alexander Hardy, Steve Saunders, Cody Harden, and Nick Rivera. Also guys, we got our pins in. These babies are now in stock and ready to ship. So just head to deadmeatstore.com and order it and we'll ship it out within days. Getting back to Chucky next week with Child's Play 3. Thanks as always for watching. Y'all are the best fans I could ask for.